calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Next.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
I wanted to find a bank with a purpose. I wanted to find a place that would take my money and not use it to cause the financial crisis, but to fix the financial crisis and to help end income inequality.
The people that we employ are usually clients right off the streets. They don't have an account, but Amalgamated is willing to get that started for them.
Their reputation supporting the working man, I think, speaks for itself. This is a bank that cares for their customers, and I appreciate that.
We were able to access a construction loan through the bank's programs, and that loan has helped us house 28 families in the community.
Amalgamated is a bank that was started for and about working people.
Many of our customers have a deep commitment to advocating for social and economic justice. We share that commitment, and we're not afraid to stand up and say that we need to change some of the way that the country does business.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight, it's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
what do you say, folks? Here we are on a Monday. Can you believe it? It is it is actually Monday, March 28th. So good to see you today on the Bill Press Show. Hope you had a great weekend. And boy, what an exciting weekend it was for Bernie Sanders winning the trifecta. Yes, indeed. Big wins, big margins. A victory in Alaska, in Hawaii, and in Washington State, just crushing Hillary Clinton. Gives Bernie a lot of momentum going on into Wisconsin. Republicans had the day off. No Republican caucuses or primaries on Saturday. And so Ted Cruz and Donald Trump just spent all of their time instead attacking, not just attacking each other, but attacking each other's wives in the most disgusting and the lowest point of the primaries so far, just when you thought it could get no more disgusting than it has been. All of that to talk about and a lot more. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS and join the conversation here on the Bill Press Show as we come out to you on the radio and on your and on Free Speech TV as well. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. In other news, terrorism strikes again. A suicide bomber in Pakistan, Lahore, Pakistan, on an Easter Sunday in a children's park where children were on carnival rides and their families gathered there to celebrate Easter. What a horrific occurrence. Some 60 people, mainly women and children, killed. And a Senator, Jerry Moran, Republican from Kansas, in trouble because he dared say that Republicans should actually hold a hearing and take a vote on President Obama's Supreme Court nominee. All of that coming up right here today on The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday.
It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC. Or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Bernie wins the trifecta. Hey, hello, everybody. What do you say? Here we go on this beautiful Monday. It is Monday, March 28th. Can you believe it? Winding up the month of March with a great big burst of energy on the Bernie Sanders front. Quiet time on the Republican side. Only the Democrats had any challenges on Saturday. Alaska, Hawaii, and Washington State. And we'll be talking a lot about that today with all of you. Good to see you. Hope you had a great weekend. Didn't spend all the time on politics. Had a chance to have some fun and enjoyed a beautiful Easter Sunday. I hope the president and his family going off to church services nearby Alexandria, Virginia. Yesterday, on Saturday, the president, of course, taking time to get in a round of golf out at Andrews Air Force Base. While I was there on CNN Saturday afternoon, don't know whether any of you caught it. I think it's the longest nonstop appearance in CNN history. We were actually on the set talking Alaska, Hawaii, and Washington State from 2 o'clock in the afternoon until 8 o'clock at night. Wow. But fear not. We were given one pee break, and we were given several snacks to keep us going during that time, right? Hey, great to see you today. Again, hope you had a great weekend. It's a big Monday with a lot going on this week. We'll tell you all about it, and we want to hear from you what you think about the news of the day, of course. You can always do so by giving us a call at 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number. And you can send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. There are a lot of Twitter activity over the weekend. I noticed that several people picked up and retweeted a comment that I made on CNN about 7 o'clock or 7:30 Saturday night when some people were discounting how well Bernie Sanders had done. It didn't really mean anything. And I basically said, BS, this means a lot. He won by big margins. He won 3 big victories. You can't take it away from Bernie Sanders. And when I leave here tonight, I'm going to go home and have a martini and celebrate.
That's how you get Twitter fame. You speak the unpopular opinion in the face of masses.
Well, and I did go home, and Carol had a martini waiting for me. God bless her. Right. So lived up to my word there, indeed. Peter Ogburns got the week off of Easter break with the kids, but Jamie Benson here. See, that's what happens, Jamie, when you don't have a family. You just get stuck.
I'm here.
With all the...
I got no other options.
That's it, exactly.
No. Good morning, Bill.
Or good morning. Ray Rogers here as well to take your calls, 866-55-PRESS, remember, and Cyprian Balding here as well on the job as our videographer. It's tough for a lot of people to decide now that it looks like it's down between Donald Trump and Ted Cruz, which is the lesser of two evils. They're certainly both evil. Bill Maher Saturday night was wrestling with this on his show, and here he is showing the contrast between the two.
Donald Trump is like Ebola. He'll violently kill you right away.
Cruz is more like the Zika virus. We won't see the damage until future generations. Donald Trump wants to build a wall to keep out creepy foreigners. Ted Cruz is proof we need it.
Or as Lindsey Graham said, the difference is like between being shot or being poisoned.
That's
to death.
right.
So what do you do? A lot of people have decided, more and more Republicans have decided, they'd rather be poisoned. They'd rather lose with Cruz. Oh, my God. Elias Isquith from Salon Magazine joins us a little bit later in this hour. Alex Seitzwald, who's been reporter for MSNBC on the road with Bernie Sanders, is back in town after the big wins on Saturday. He'll be in studio with us. We'll also go down to North Carolina and find out the latest on that discriminatory piece of legislation signed by the governor, Jeff Messer, from 880 The Revolution in Asheville. Will be joining us to tell us all about. So lots coming up, but first...
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories for you on this Monday morning. Well, we have our Final Four in the NCAA tournament. Whoa. The stage is set for next weekend. Here's who's going to be in the big dance, or the final round of the big dance. Syracuse defeating Virginia yesterday, 68-62. North Carolina making the Final Four for a record 19th time.
Wow.
Defeating Notre Dame last night. Maybe the biggest story over the weekend is the clear-cut favorite coming into the NCAA tournament was Kansas Jayhawks. Kansas fell to number 2 Villanova, 64-59 on Saturday, so a big win there for Villanova. And then Oklahoma has arguably the best player in the country in Buddy Hield. He scored 37 points with a career-high 8 three-pointers, defeating Oregon 80-68 on Saturday. So, I don't know. Of those 4 teams, who would you pull for, Bill? We have Syracuse, North Carolina, Oklahoma, and Villanova.
I'm for North Carolina.
They're the perennial favorite, right? Name recognition.
It's funny, I just haven't heard as much about March Madness this year as we normally do. Maybe because I didn't do a bracket. But.
I got to be honest with you, I didn't do a bracket either. I haven't been watching much at all, but right. I think I'm going to pull for Oklahoma.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Out of the ordinary. I don't know why. It's going to happen. Hey, so terrible news here with the with the bombing out of Pakistan yesterday morning. But interesting thing happened on social media. Facebook has been doing this great thing whenever we have these big terror attacks, where they'll send out a notification if they know that you're in the area that was affected by the attack, making sure that you're okay.
Oh, huh.
So you can report to your friends.
Yeah, right.
So when the Paris attacks happened, I had some friends in Paris, and I got notifications saying Rebecca's okay, Paul is okay, they're in safe places, which is nice. Yesterday, Facebook had a little bit of a malfunction. They sent out a notification to pretty much all users across the world asking, are you okay? We see that you're in the zone affected by the bomb. Of course, however, there only needed to be a small group of people that were affected
people were
by
not.
that.
Yeah. Huh.
So Facebook has apologized, saying they mistakenly sent out that notification and are working to resolve the issue.
They'll fix it.
And finally, out of the box office numbers, some very terrible reviews for Batman vs. Superman.
Yeah.
Blockbuster. Didn't matter. Still brought in a worldwide total of $424.1 million. It opened in 17 international territories. It had the best opening day of the year in the United Kingdom. And it's also the biggest Warner Brothers Time Warner opening day of all time in India.
Wow.
So, big weekend for Batman vs. Superman. Zootopia in second. My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2 in third.
Didn't know that was out, too. All right, good. Thank you, Jamie. Yes, indeed. What a weekend for the Sanders campaign. They need a little extra boost, and they got it. And, of course, what happened on Saturday came on the heels of an incredible event on Thursday in Portland, Oregon. A friend of mine was there at this event where the little bird showed up on stage on the platform, and he sent me an email right away saying, you are going to see this all over. You're not going to believe what just happened at this Bernie Sanders rally. Again, my friend John Callahan was standing nearby. And so, as you know, you've all seen the video, I think, by now. This bird alights in this huge auditorium. The bird alights on the platform, and the crowd starts laughing a little bit. And Bernie realizes something is going on, and he looks down and sees the bird, and he's amused by that, and then starts to say something, and then the bird actually flies up and lands right on the podium in front of him. It looks like it wasn't a house sparrow that you might expect in a building like that. It looked like a warbler or something, a little songbird. And Bernie rises the crowd just can't believe what is going on. Neither can Bernie. He rises to the occasion.
Now you see, this little bird doesn't know it. Oh,
and that's where the bird takes off up into the rafters.
I think there may be some symbolism here. I know it doesn't look like it, but that bird is really a dove asking us for world peace. No more wars.
Imagine what Donald Trump would have said. Get it out of here. Get it out of here. Go home to your mommy.
He'd have a bodyguard kill it.
He would have. Yeah, he would have smashed it. He would have gone like that, man. Donald Trump. But so we had fun with that on the. They played that clip on Saturday while we were on CNN, and the people were sort of discounting it, but I pointed out that actually there was a lot of symbolism here. That this was, of course, the Holy Spirit. It was the Holy Spirit descending on Bernie Sanders, and I told Donna Brazil, Donna, on Easter Saturday, when the Holy Spirit descends on Bernie Sanders, you know, it's serious. And in fact, I think the Holy Spirit pulled him through, because what everybody was saying going into Saturday was, and it's so funny. In fact, I got a text from a conservative Republican cousin of mine during the broadcast on Saturday who said, geez, why don't people give Bernie some credit? They always try to undercut and downplay anything he does and anything that happens, any one of his success. And that's the way I felt on Saturday, because even starting the day they were saying, well, it looked like Bernie might do okay. It looked like these states were going to be, they were sort of friendly Bernie territory. But it didn't matter unless he won by big margins. He was going to have to win by really big margins. They were kind of putting everything down. Well, guess what? He won all three, and he won by huge margins, to use Bernie's word. Indeed. In Washington State, just listen to this, 72.7 to 27.1, almost 50%. Alaska, 81.6 to 18.4. Just about 70 percent ahead of Hillary. Hawaii, 70.6 to 29.2. Easy 40% ahead of Hillary. And Bernie started out, he was in Madison, Wisconsin Saturday, where he should have been. Huge rally in Madison, Wisconsin. All of our good friends from 92.1 The Mic, I'm sure, were out there. Bernie starts out by thanking the people of Alaska.
Let me begin by thanking the people of Alaska for giving us a resounding victory tonight.
And it was only later, while he was speaking, that his wife Jane came back up on stage and whispered in his ear that he had actually won Washington State as well. And Bernie says clearly the enthusiasm, the energy, the excitement, the momentum is with the Sanders campaign.
We have, I think it is hard for anybody to deny that our campaign has the momentum. You are the momentum. Look around you tonight.
So it's a huge victory, and I think, and I'd love to get your take on this as well, 866-55-PRESS. And whether you're a Hillary supporter or a Bernie supporter, and we're all together in this Democratic Party. We want to hold on to the White House, and we'll support whichever one is a nominee. Let's remember that. That's the most important thing. But Whether you're a Bernie supporter or a Hillary supporter, I think you've got to agree. The media is missing the big story here. I couldn't believe it. Like CBS News last night, they said, basically, oh, by the way, there were 3 caucuses, Democratic caucuses yesterday. Bernie Sanders won all 3, but it doesn't really matter because Hillary's still far ahead in the delegates. That was it. That was it. One line. They're missing the big story. The real story here is not that Hillary Clinton has a nomination locked up, because she doesn't. The real story here is that Bernie Sanders has won 5 out of the last 6 primaries. He has won them by huge margins. He won Idaho and Utah by 60 points in each one of them. The reality is, the real story is, this is a real horse race. The real story is that Bernie Sanders has now gone. Now, here's the latest count, and it keeps changing because they're still counting delegates in Washington state, but he's going to get by far most of the delegates. But the latest count is that, according to CNN this morning, that Hillary has 1,251 delegates, and Bernie Sanders has 1,012, which means, okay, that he went Saturday from being 304 delegates behind Hillary to now, if my math is correct, and it is, 239 delegates. So figure that out, right? That's 65. He picked up 65 delegates so far on Saturday. The real story is Bernie Sanders has gotten twice as many votes among millennials as Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump combined. There is something going on here, friends. Something real that the media is missing. And it's the Bernie Sanders enthusiasm and excitement. This is a real horse race. Let's talk about it. 866-55-PRESS here on this Monday, The Bill Press Show.
Your place to talk about the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
He calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC. or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
27 minutes after the hour, of course, that latest number I gave you from CNN on the number of delegates, with Hillary Clinton a 239-vote edge, 1251 to Bernie's 1012, doesn't include super delegates. We'll talk about super delegates after the break, because I got into it on CNN with Donna Brazil on Saturday over super delegates. I think they are undemocratic, and we ought to get rid of them. But meanwhile, let's say hello to Karen. Karen's out in Portland, Oregon. She was there on Thursday. Hi, Karen.
Hi. It was actually Friday.
Oh, it was Friday. I'm sorry. Of course it was Friday. Yeah. Tell us about it.
Oh, it was really, really a lot of fun. There was almost 12,000 people there.
Oh, wow.
And the bird was a yellow finch.
Oh, it was a little finch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to say the yellow finch actually symbolizes good fortune to come.
It does? Well, yes. I'll tell you one thing. It did on Friday, right?
Yeah. It brought in all the voters.
Now,
and then also, I was going to say the Native American connection to the bird is the humanity and nature, and that how we can't just take. It's like a cycle and a circle.
Well, there was
we
a
have
lot
to replenish what we take.
Very good, very good. Yeah, you know what? There was a lot of symbolism then. Karen, thank you so much for the call. In that particular bird appearing at that particular time with that particular candidate. I'm telling you, there's something going on here, guys. There's something going on for sure. More Bernie Sanders and Democratic primary when we come back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight, it's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now.
As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend.
As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday.
It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. My whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Next.
After the hour here, as we start off on the week on this Monday, March 28th, talking about the big blowout for Bernie Sanders over the weekend. Pardon Pardon me. Sorry about that. And looking at the fact that he is really catching up with Hillary Clinton in the delegate count. He started out Saturday 304 delegates behind, now 239 delegates behind. So any talk about Bernie getting out of the way, which we heard, toward the end of the week, and even heard from some Clinton people over the weekend, why doesn't he just get out of the way so she can focus on November, do us all a favor? No way. No way. The guy is winning. The only thing wrong with that theory is that he keeps winning. And coming up is Wisconsin on April 5. And Wisconsin looks good for Bernie. In fact, a couple of Clinton people anonymously were quoted over the weekend as saying that they expect Bernie to win Wisconsin. Wisconsin with a big 96 delegates at stake. Of course, the delegate count, when you say 1251 to 1012, does not include super delegates. And remember, these are the party poobahs. These are the mayors. These are the governors. These are the members of Congress who get this super delegate just as sort of an honorific title, and they can vote for whomever they want. That means that and by the way, Republicans don't do this. Republicans are more Democratic than the Democratic Party when it comes to superdelegates. But the superdelegates in the Democratic Party, they can vote for whomever they want, which means, let's say, a superdelegate from, let's take Alaska, okay? Bernie gets 81% of the vote in Alaska. Clearly, the Democrats in Alaska want Bernie Sanders as a nominee. A superdelegate is free to vote for Hillary. A superdelegate can say, screw you. I don't care what the people of my state think. I'm going to vote the way I want because I want a job in the Hillary administration. Or because, I've known her a long time or whatever. It's totally undemocratic. And but the thing is, superdelegates can change their mind. So far, Hillary's got some 469 superdelegates, and Bernie only has 29. But those 469 could change their mind if it looks like Bernie is winning continues to win state after state after state. And that's what happened in 2008. Bernie Sanders was asked about this yesterday on Meet the Press, and this was on This Week on ABC News. He makes that very point.
The momentum is with us. A lot of these superdelegates may rethink their position with Secretary Clinton. A lot have not yet declared. And then you got superdelegates who are in states where we win by 40 or 50 points. I think their own constituents are going to say to them, hey, why don't you support the people of our state? Vote for Sanders.
Absolutely. Peggy's calling from out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Hi, Peggy.
Hey, hi there. First of all, I want to apologize. I'm getting over laryngitis, and I feel honored to be on your radio station.
No, you're very kind.
When I lived in L.A.
Oh.
And I loved you, and I've seen you on CNN, so I feel really honored.
Oh, we're part of the big family here.
Pardon?
I say we're part of the family here, Peggy.
Oh,
yeah.
Really? Oh, well, first of all, I totally agree with you. It's so undemocratic with the superdelegates, and I'm 65 years old. I'm a total Bernie, supporter. So what can we do to get him as the nominee? What do you think we can do here to really get him up there?
Well, just give Bernie whatever support you can. I mean, his average contribution is $27, right? But even a lot of people, if they can't even afford $27, just do whatever you can. If you go online to BernieSanders.com, you can make any contribution you can. And then I would say tell all your friends in every one of these states that's coming up, whether it's Connecticut or New York or Wisconsin or Delaware or New Jersey, California, where you know people in these states, tell them to be sure to get out and vote for Bernie. And I think Bernie is right. I do think he has a path to victory. Let me tell you something else, Peggy. I appreciate the call. I'm going to be up in Santa Fe on Tuesday, April 5, at a big book event for my new book, Buyer's Remorse. I forget the name of the great bookstore in Santa Fe. I'm not sure whether there's more than one, but at any rate, check it out, and maybe I can see you up there next Tuesday. But again, looking forward to Wisconsin and then New York State. And Bernie announced yesterday that he's going to open a headquarters in Brooklyn and make a big push for New York State, which comes up on April 19. So April 5 is Wisconsin, 96. And then Wyoming slips in on April 9 with 18. And then New York, April 19 with 291. April's going to be a big, big, big month. But again, Bernie's going to open this office in Brooklyn. And he says he's going to make a big push for New York State, of course, which Hillary represented in the United States Senate, where she still has a home. But Bernie thinks he can do well there. And so do I, because I think a lot of people are not happy with Hillary's ties to Wall Street, and this is Bernie's chance to make his case. John is calling from New York State, out on Long Island. Hey, John, what do you think?
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, what's up?
I'll tell you, you were talking earlier about the media, the broadcast, the mainstream media missing the story of Bernie's big wins, but I don't think they're missing the story. I think they're intentionally ignoring the story because the mainstream media doesn't want their gravy train to end. They're in the, I don't think Matt Lauer or Anderson Cooper are wishing that things change anytime soon, if you know what I mean.
No, I know what you mean. No, it could be that they're not just missing it, that they're deliberately downplaying it. But they're to me, they're just taking the spin coming out of the Clinton campaign and they regurgitate it, right? So every time, it drives me crazy. Every time they will say anything positive about Bernie at all, they have to immediately counter it, right, by saying, but of course this doesn't mean anything. But yes, it does mean something. You know what? First of all, to me, John, right, the big story is, here's a guy that nobody knew who he was a year ago, right? He comes out of nowhere. And he is winning like half of the votes in the Democratic primaries against a person who is the head of the Democratic Party and has been the leading Democrat for the last 25 years, right? And Bernie's raised more money than she has and is winning state after state, has over 1,000 delegates. There's something going on, right? And I think people are missing it. There is a lot of dissatisfaction among Democrats about the direction of the Democratic Party. And what Bernie is saying is, when he says it, we need a political revolution, what he means is the Democratic Party has lost touch with working class Americans. It doesn't represent working class Americans or middle class Americans anymore. It's not as bad as the Republican Party, but it's still lost touch with average working families and people out there who are really struggling and haven't seen their wages go up for the last 15 or 20 years, or certainly haven't seen their wages go up, keeping up with the cost of living. And those are the people that Bernie is saying we've got to be fighting for, the 99%, if you will. And that message is coming through. And so something is going on, and I think, in fact, we'll talk to Elias Isquith about this next on Salon, because he's made the same point, the role of the media in determining who's serious and who's not. They're missing the boat, maybe, as John says, deliberately. 866-55-PRESS, the toll-free number. We'll come right back here on The Bill Press Show.
On your radio, on TV, and online, this is The Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver.
Nice.
The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, what about it? Here we go. 13 minutes now before the top of the hour. We've been talking about Bernie's huge win on Saturday, winning by huge, big margins in all three states, and now heading into Wisconsin on April 5. Jamie, you got a couple of comments from our on Twitter?
Yeah, Progressive in Texas says, how many superdelegates had their campaign coffers lined by Clinton PACs? And we have Phil saying, until Bernie proves he can win Black Latino votes, not convinced that he can take any upcoming big states.
Well, that's a very good point. Bernie, certainly that is the area where he has done less well than certainly among white middle-class voters and among young people, but Bernie's doing every state he's done better among African American and with Latinos. What has not been reported in Arizona actually on election day, even though Hillary ended up winning Arizona by 14 points on election day, Bernie Sanders beat Hillary Clinton. Those who cast their votes on election day, Bernie Sanders beat Hillary Clinton in Arizona, certainly a diverse state. Oh. He won Michigan, a diverse state. And they keep saying, well, Hillary Clinton won Ohio. Yes, she won Ohio by 1.8%, right? So that's an area where Bernie Sanders has to improve, but he has been improving. Elias Ithquith from Salon Magazine is kind enough to join us just about every Monday that I can remember and is there on a news line this morning. Hey, Elias, what's your take on these superdelegates? Do you think they will stick with Hillary, or do you think they might be willing to move?
Hey, guys.
Hi.
I think that I subscribe to the theory that the superdelegates are going to follow voters. I think that they're inclined to kind of stay the course with Clinton. I think in general, as you were saying earlier in the show, these tend to be almost by definition kind of members of the establishment. So they're going to be more interested in sort of staying on the safer route and going with what they know best and sort of maintaining their alliances. At the same time, I think that you know these people better than me in a lot of cases, so I'm interested to hear your take. But I figured they got to be looking over at the Republican side, seeing how if you as the establishment buck the base, that ends up biting you in the end. I got to figure they're looking over that, and they know that ultimately they need to follow voters' lead.
Well, there's one thing is they, as you pointed, they are all. This is the Democratic establishment, right? This is the Democratic establishment, and so they're very, very inclined to hang together. As I saw the DNC meeting that I went to out in Minneapolis last summer. I mean, when Hillary was there, they were jumping up and down, screaming and laughing, right? And when Bernie was speaking, they were just sitting on their hands, right? Because, like, how dare you defy the establishment? At the same time, these are pragmatic people who really want to win, right? So if Bernie were to get very, very close to her, maybe not even beat her, but get very, very close to her, and it's clear he's the popular choice, I think you'll see a lot of defections, like you did from her to Barack Obama in 2008. And remember, there are about 300, I think, superdelegates who haven't endorsed anybody so far.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I mean, I've seen some people either online or in the media that have kind of made fun of Senator Sanders when he talks about his belief that the superdelegates could come to him. And I guess if you're trying to just kind of score, a cheap joke or whatever, I understand why they see that as a place where they can poke fun. But I think the truth is what you just said. If the case is the better case going into the convention, even if he hasn't won more votes, but if he has the better argument for electability, ultimately these are people who they're only where they are for the most part because they, were good at winning elections, or at least competent enough. Right. And so they're gonna do that.
I was interested in your piece about the role of the media in creating Donald Trump.
Yeah. So I made this argument a bit ago, jumping off of something that the Washington Post's Greg Sargent kind of brought up as an idea, which is that part of the reason Trump is doing, well, more specifically, part of the reason that the Republican establishment can't seem to persuade the number of voters in its base that it needs, that Trump is going to be a disaster electorally, is because the base doesn't believe that. They listen to media, Limbaugh, Michael Savage, they read Breitbart. If they read a newspaper, it's probably the Washington Times, so forth. They use, they go on Twitter and they follow right-wing people. And in that kind of bubble, it's almost been, goes without saying in that world that Hillary Clinton cannot win an election. And they're not imagining, they tend to always just figure Clinton's going to be the nominee. But they just think there's no way that, no matter what, the Republican's going to win. They tell themselves, the same party doesn't win 3 in a row, she's going to get indicted, so forth, so forth. And because they live in that kind of alternative reality, they're about to, I think, or they're at risk of getting slapped in the face by the real reality.
Yeah, and you couple that with the incredible amount of, $2 billion, people say, of free media that Donald Trump has been able to, has received, right?
Yes. I mean, in some ways you can't blame these people, because when they look outside their own media bubble, as much as they do, they rightly see the entire media obsessed with their candidate. And so, I think that absolutely he gets helped a lot by that and kind of promotes their disconnect. I
mean, it was so refreshing this Saturday that there were no Republican primaries, so we didn't have to listen to another Donald Trump speech, right, for an hour at the end of the day. All right. Hey, that does it for us today, Elias. Thanks so much. Always good to talk to you.
Thanks.
Elias Isquith, Salon.com.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
For my 6th birthday, my grandpa gave me a Rubik's Cube. I'll always be able to remember its edges, hold it in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I remember him telling me about it. How Rubik's Cube has 43 quintillion, 252 quadrillion, 3 trillion, 274 billion, 489,856,000 possibilities. He told me it can be really confusing sometimes. But to look at the center squares as a reminder of what color each side should be. Shift. We're celebrating his 50th wedding anniversary. He and Grandma are dancing a dance that only fragile legs and wrinkled hands know how to. That type of happiness took him 70 years to earn. The white side of the cube is solved. Shift. He tells me about how he met Grandma. His college friends had a sunset picnic. She was there, as beautiful as an unsolved puzzle. She was a red-headed scramble on an orange tile sky. Shift. The walls of the hospital are blue. The nurses explain that his memories had become jumbled. Strangers in family portraits, pictures with mismatched faces. Alzheimer's has made his mind into a Rubik's Cube. Shift. He's a highway patrolman. His car is white. No, it's blue. He worked there for 30 years. Some nights he still does. Time is a complicated algorithm. Shift. The pills he holds are yellow and red and green. The weight of their color causes his hand to drop. I try to shift his tiles back into place, but people don't have center squares. His mind is a hospital bed divided by 0. Shift. My sister's wedding is white, but he doesn't know why. Shift. World War II is every color. The South Pacific is blue. The islands are green. There is so much red. Shift. Grandpa, table, cube, name, scramble, California, guitar, grapefruit highway, wedding bell, war, stick shift rifles, South Pacific mirrors. Shift. The temperature of his hands is blue. Death is colorless. I will always remember his edges. Hold him in my hands. Heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I was unable to attend his funeral. I never found out the algorithm to solve him. A Rubik's Cube has over 43 quintillion possibilities. A casket only has one.
This is the Bill Press Show.
As we move into hour number 2 here, Nettie, a quick call from Nettie in Wisconsin. What do you say, Nettie?
Well, Bernie Sanders will be here in Appleton, Wisconsin at the Performing Arts Center tomorrow morning at 9:30. People are going to be lining up like from 7 o'clock on. We can't get tens of thousands of people in the pack, but we can get 1,000 or more.
Oh, I'll bet you have more than that. Yeah, in Appleton, Wisconsin. Bernie will be there tomorrow. He's going to make a big push for Wisconsin, and he's got a couple of weeks to do so. On Wisconsin, Russ Feingold and Bernie Sanders. What a team.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right, guys, I want to take the last part of the day to change our focus and talk a little bit about water. There's rivers, there's lakes, there's huge oceans. You get thirsty, you just go and you get some water, right? We rely on rain for our water. We even rely on snow. But what if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. I want you to tell your parents, your friends, your neighbors, how important it is to save water. It's up to you guys to save the planet. All right? What if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. It's up to you guys to save the planet.
Hi, I'm Mark LaFleur, and I produced the short film you just watched called Aquaforce. California is experiencing one of the worst droughts it's ever had, and now, more than ever, it's important for everyone to do their part to help conserve water. The reason I made this film is because I wanted to make something fun and informative that would get people talking about the California drought. Obviously, this is an important issue because we have a limited amount of clean drinking water. I think it was very important to let people know, especially young people, that this is an important resource, maybe our most important resource, and it's something that we can't take for granted and we certainly can't waste. I really wanted this to be something that children would respond to. The kind of thing that any kid anywhere in the world, no matter what language they speak, could understand the story and be entertained by it and leave it knowing that this is something important, that if they didn't already know about this, that it's now going to be a part of the way that they think about water, the way that they live life, and that it's something that they'll share with their friends. The fact that they watch this video once or twice and they immediately understand that water is important, that's it. That was the whole point of this thing, to get it into the conversation, to make it something that kids are thinking about, talking about, that they're aware of, and that they know is important. This project was self-funded, so we relied on the support of our community to make it happen. It was pretty amazing to just have our neighbors, our friends, and our coworkers come together and volunteer their time and their homes and their kids to make this thing happen. Thanks for checking out the video. Keep the Aquaforce going, and thanks for watching Free Speech TV.
Casting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Bernie Sanders winning the trifecta, huge margins in Alaska, Hawaii, and Washington State. Now it's on to Wisconsin, April 5. Hello, everybody. And a big Monday to you, Monday, March 28th. Good to see you today as we boom out to you live, coast to coast, from our studios right here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. We're there with you on the radio, on your local progressive talk radio station, of course, and on one of those two great radio apps. If you're not lucky enough to have a progressive radio station near you, you can always catch us on iHeartRadio or TuneIn. They're both free. You can download them, take us on the radio with you wherever you go. We're also live with you coast to coast on television on Free Speech TV, and good to see you today. Thank you for joining us. Whether you're listening or watching, give us a call, join the conversation. 866-55-PRESS is that toll-free number, or you can send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show, or on Facebook at facebook.com/The Bill Press Show. Our team here in place today, except for Peter Ogburn, who's got the week off, Easter break with the kids, you know how it is. But Jamie Benson is running the show today and filling in a lot of Peter's duties. Hello, Jamie.
Hey, hey.
Right, with the help of Ray Rogers, always ready to take your calls at 866-55-PRESS. And if you're looking at us, a big thank you to Cyprian Bolding, our videographer. One of the big issues, certainly, that Bernie Sanders keeps talking about, particularly Hillary to a certain extent, but especially Bernie, is this obscene campaign finance system that we have today, with more and more super PACs and more big sugar daddies trying to control our elections. Derek Cressman has been on this issue and working on this issue for, I guess, most of his professional life, and has recently written a book about it called When Money Talks, and joins us in studio this morning. Hi, Derek. Good to see you.
It's great to be with you, Bill. Thanks.
Thank you for coming in all the way from Sacramento.
Yeah.
Good town. Yeah.
I like Sacramento. I like D.C. too.
Yeah. We had I think it was 9 years that we lived in Sacramento. Raised our kids there.
Yeah, good. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, right. Good place to do so. And all the attention was on the Democratic side this weekend. No Republican caucuses or primaries. So instead, we just had more mudslinging on the part of the Democrats. Ted Cruz accusing Donald Trump, of course, of stooping about as low as he could, which is true, by the way. Here's Ted Cruz.
When he's scared, when he's losing, his first and natural resort is to go to sleaze and to go to slime. And one question Americans are wondering all over this country is, how low will Donald go? Is there any level to which he is unwilling to stoop?
I think the answer to that is no.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
At least we haven't seen it yet.
No. He'll go anywhere, even attacking Ted Cruz's wife. And then I'm sure Donald Trump's fingerprints are all over this National Enquirer story accusing Ted Cruz of having multiple affairs. So Donald Trump was asked about this on Meet the Press, I believe it was on This Week yesterday. And like the little schoolyard bully that he is, But Donald Trump says, no, I didn't start it. He did.
I had nothing to do whatsoever with the National Enquirer, and neither did the campaign. And I will tell you, for him to try and say that I had to do with it, try and put the shoe on the other foot is disgraceful. And by the way, he's the one that started it.
Yeah, he's the
Na
one.
na 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 na.
I know.
Oh, man.
They are so bad. Anyhow, disgusting. It really is. And embarrassing. As
Yeah.
John Kerry said over the weekend, that he goes to foreign countries and people want to say, what's going on? Right? They got to wonder.
Yeah, it's a spectacle. And
Disgusting spectacle.
We've turned our politics, I think, more into entertainment and infotainment than to actually a discussion about serious issues. And the Republican primary is, Exhibit A in that.
Absolutely. So we'll get right into that with Derek here at the top of the hour. Then we'll go down to North Carolina, learn the latest about that hate-inspired legislation just signed by the governor. Jeff Messer from our great affiliate down there, 880 The Revolution, will be joining us. And Alex Seitzwald here from MSNBC in studio with us the next hour. He's been on the road with Bernie Sanders, and he'll tell us all about it. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories for you on this Monday morning. A congratulations is in order for the one and only Ivanka Trump.
Oh, really? Finally?
She has finally had her big, beautiful Jewish baby. As Donald Trump said at AIPAC a couple weeks ago, last night at 5:43 p.m., Ivanka gave birth to Theodore James, a boy. Donald Trump congratulating the family in a tweet.
Of course. Of course.
Exactly. Chelsea Clinton, also the story mentions, she announced in December that she was pregnant with her second child and is expecting the baby this summer. So a little bit of baby competition as we head up to the general election. Am I right?
Yeah, I'm sure. Donald Trump tweeting it out. Yeah. Now we know why he took a couple of days off.
Some controversy at the Tribeca Film Festival in New York City. Robert De Niro is the festival director, has been the festival director for a number of years now. He had vetted a film called Vaxxed, From Cover-Up to Catastrophe. It's directed and co-written by a man named Andrew Wakefield, who was an author of a study that was published in a British medical journal and then retracted in 2010. The article was all about the dangers of vaccination, which of course is a big topic in the medical community. Mr. Wakefield's medical license was revoked over his failure to disclose financial conflicts of interest and ethics violations. Nonetheless, they were going to go ahead and screen this film on April 24th, but there was a lot of public outcry, and eventually De Niro gave in and said, quote, "My intent in screening this film is to provide an opportunity for conversation around an issue that is deeply personal to me and my family, but after reviewing it over the past couple of days, we do not believe it contributes to or furthers the discussion I had hoped for."
Yank the film, huh?
And the personal connection there, Robert De Niro has a 6-year-old son with autism. So no word on whether or not he has a stance on vaxxing. And finally, a lot of us had a pretty good Easter weekend here, right? However, in Washington State on Saturday, there was an Easter egg hunt, and everything seemed to be going fine. Then all of a sudden, a man comes running across the field and says, "My friend's trying to shoot me. My friend's trying to shoot me." Sounded just like a crazy guy running across the field. However, it turned out to be a guy that was running from his buddy who had a large-scale marijuana operation right down the street.
Whoa.
So this guy led the cops to the operation in suburban Salmon Creek, Washington, just north of the Oregon state line. Deputies seized 45 pounds of processed marijuana with a street value of more than $202,000, along with $108K in cash and 4 vehicles. They said they were distributing marijuana all the way across the country.
Good Lord. Yeah.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter, the Easter egg hunt. So that's have some surprises there indeed, huh? So, there, how it just keeps getting worse and worse. There's more money than ever in politics today, isn't there? I mean, more dark money, as Jane Mayer calls it in her new book.
Yeah, there's more money. A lot of it we don't know where it's coming from. A lot of it we do. And I think even more disturbing is it's coming actually from a smaller and smaller group of people. So, it'd be one thing if there was more money because every candidate ran the way Bernie runs and millions of people were getting involved in the political process. That's not happening. People are tuning out of politics while the billionaires are dominating the debate.
Yeah, I mean, do you say that fewer and fewer people? There are that we know of, like the Koch brothers are always come, but then Paul Singer, I guess, is another big name, and then Sheldon Adelson, Foster Friess, if he's still. But we're talking about about a dozen people in this category who are really putting in hundreds of millions of dollars?
Well, the New York Times did an analysis last year. It was roughly 400 families that gave over half the money in the presidential race last year. So, a bit more than a dozen people, but really a tiny group of people. Some on the left, more on the right, but by no means a representative cross-section of America.
Yeah. I mean, it is really not correct to say, am I correct in saying that it's wrong to say that that both parties are at equal fault here, right?
Well, I think that is wrong, and there's a lot of false equivalence on that issue. Certainly both parties do everything they can to raise every last dollar they can, and that's a problem. There are two differences that I think people should know. First is more of the billionaire money and more of the corporate money goes to the Republican side. More of the union money goes to the Democratic side. But when you add all of that up, there is way more money on the Republican side, when you add every type of dark money organization that's out there. But the bigger difference that I think is more important is if you look at who actually tries to change the laws once they're in power. And the Democrats, not every one of them, but most of them, almost all actually, are taking strong stances against the big money, working to overturn Citizens United, whereas every time you turn around, the Republican Party, especially in D.C., and Mitch McConnell is working to weaken our campaign finance laws and create even more loopholes as if we don't have enough already.
So how much of this is due to Citizens United?
Well, if you actually look at the dollars that came just from that ruling, maybe 15-20%. But if you look at the other rulings that came about as a result of Citizens United, the super PACs, which actually came from a related case, it gets to be an even number, a bigger number. But the real problem is that Citizens United and the Supreme Court has made solutions almost impossible to come by to get this money out. Now, there are some things we can do to shine a light on the dark money, some things we can do to amplify the role of small donors, which help the grassroots candidates compete against the super PACs. But the Supreme Court has really tied our hands in terms of keeping the corporate money and the billionaire money out of the process, or at least, limiting them to the same amount that ordinary citizens could give.
Now, I want to ask you about what we can do about Citizens United. But first, isn't the fundamental problem, that the reasoning behind Citizens United is just totally false, that money is free speech?
That's right.
Sandra Day O'Connor, God bless her, right, has said that this court was just totally wrong and she's one who ran for office. She knows why people give campaign contributions. They don't give campaign contributions, as Bernie always says, out of the goodness of their heart, right? They want something for it. They expect something for it. It's corrupting the system. And the idea that even Anthony Kennedy says there's no proof of corruption. The hell there's not.
Yeah, and this notion that money is free speech didn't start with Citizens United.
Right.
That goes back 40 years to Buckley versus Vallejo is the case, which came in the wake of the post-Watergate campaign finance laws. And that's where our problems really began. So that's why I say Citizens United isn't the entire problem. That's where we first said money is speech, and so any billionaire can spend whatever they want on their own campaign, whether that be Donald Trump or Bill Bloomberg. And that's when you have then the endless arms race of money to keep up with the billionaires. So we really need to go back to that problem and correct a 40-year-old court ruling, Buckley versus Vallejo.
All right. So what can we do in the meantime about Citizens United? Is there any hope at all to turning it with this court? Of course.
Well, with this court, we now have a 4-4 court. So it's a bit uncertain, and we may at some point get a 5-4 court, although I'm not convinced Mitch McConnell will ever let any Democrat appoint a new nominee to that Supreme Court. But that is certainly one approach that we can go, is we can work for a new justice on that Supreme Court that would get to a 5-4 majority that would rule differently than the Roberts Court has been ruling.
Has Merrick Garland spoken out on Citizens United?
He has not, and he has a real mixed track record on this issue. He was part of an appellate panel that extended the logic of Citizens United to create super PACs, as I was talking about earlier. Now, he may have just been doing that to sort of go along with what the Supreme Court said, which, I still think at a minimum lacks courage, or he may have agreed with the ruling, but that's why we have to have hearings so that we can put him on the record and find out where he stands on this, because right now it's a huge question mark. And, we have both Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders who've drawn a line and said, I've got a litmus test. I won't put anyone on the court who wouldn't overturn Citizens United. Barack Obama never made that promise. So we don't know where Merrick Garland stands. So we need hearings there, and that's one reason why I think, in addition to be pushing for a new court, which we absolutely should do, we need to also keep pushing for a constitutional amendment that would set this in stone permanently. Because even if we got a new court that ruled a good way and overturned Citizens United, we will see the court change again in 5 or 10 or 20 years, and they could flip it back the other direction. So I think this is something that we need a long-term permanent solution to. And that's why reformers have been pushing for a constitutional amendment that would clearly establish that campaign spending is not the same thing as free speech, that corporations don't have the same constitutional rights as real people.
His book is When Money Talks, available, of course, on Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com, as well as your local bookstore. Derek Cressman is the author, here in studio with us. I just see the entire title here, When Money Talks. The high price of free speech and the selling of a democracy. Questions or comments? 866-55-PRESS, and we'll be right back.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
She calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go now at 26 minutes after the hour, talking campaign finance with Derek Cressman, who's the author of When Money Talks, The High Price of Free Speech and the Selling of Democracy. What exactly would this constitutional amendment do? Well, and are you worried about opening up the Constitution to other amendments? I mean, you can't just limit it to one amendment if you...
Well, I'm not worried about that. Every generation of Americans but ours has amended our Constitution. The premise of the Founding Fathers was that we know we didn't get this document perfect, and we expect you to amend it. George Washington told us that in his farewell address.
Yeah.
And in fact, 7 times in our history before, we've passed an amendment specifically to overturn a wrong-headed Supreme Court ruling. So I think it's time we do that again.
So this would be could stand alone, right, as a constitutional amendment?
That's right. It'd be the 28th Amendment. Or some people say we should have 2 amendments, one dealing with money as speech, one dealing with corporations as people, or you could combine them both since those were both issues in the Citizens United ruling. And I devote a chapter in the book as to what the amendment could or should say and actually propose some wording for it. But in essence, it's that, nothing in the Constitution shall prohibit limits on campaign spending and contributions that promote a level playing field among citizens so that everyone has a chance to have their voice heard and not just the billionaires drowning out the voices of others. I mean, I actually think that's key to protect free speech of the little guy, is to make sure that we don't get shouted down by the wealthy.
All right, and that's got to do it. Derek, thanks so much for stopping by. Congratulations on the book. Again, the book is When Money Talks. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight, It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean. But because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek, Newtown,
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad, as a friend, as a husband,
As a wife.
as an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 Help keep all the presidential candidates straight with your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go now at 33 minutes after the hour on a big Monday, March 28th. Still celebrating Bernie Sanders winning the trifecta on Saturday. Winning by huge margins in Alaska, in Hawaii, and Washington State. Now it is on to Wisconsin. Meanwhile, all eyes on North Carolina. In fact, the New York Times editorializing just a couple of days ago, a headline, Transgender Law Makes North Carolina Pioneer in Bigotry. That doesn't speak well for most of the citizens of North Carolina, whom I know are just wonderful, wonderful people. I'm sure there's a lot of disgust even in North Carolina with this law. To find out more about it, signed into law last week by Governor Pat McCrory. Find out more about it, we turn to our good friend, Jeff Messer, who's host of the Jeff Messer Show every afternoon on 880 The Revolution. Joining us on a newsline this morning. Hello, Jeff.
Good morning, Bill. How are you doing?
All right. Always good to talk to you. I look forward to seeing you soon, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. But
Sure.
Tell us about this law. How did it come about, and what would it do?
Well, it has been very, very confused by a lot of people who've gravitated to the issue of bathroom assignment. I guess it's like being in elementary school again.
Yeah, right.
There are bathroom assignments. But it is a little bit more complex than that. In fact, we are pioneers, as you said. We're number one. Not at a very good thing, but we're number one in North Carolina. But basically, this is the most massive discriminatory law ever passed for LGBT individuals by any state in the history of this country.
Now, my understanding is that the city of Charlotte passed a pretty good bill just providing protection for LGBT people and open access to bathrooms, particularly for transgender people. And this is the state coming in and saying, no, Charlotte, you can't do that, and no city can do that, right?
Absolutely. Charlotte, just recently, the past several weeks, and it wasn't something that was a big issue. It was just a gesture from the city of Charlotte saying, you know what, there's nothing on the books that say that we don't discriminate against LGBT people, but let's go ahead and just say it anyway. And it wasn't like there was a massive issue or there wasn't a big push, but they just decided, let's treat all human beings in our city as equal, as decent human beings.
Yeah, what a novel concept, huh?
Exactly. Only in America, right? But this so freaked out the General Assembly that I have friends who are on the General Assembly who were called into an emergency session at the tune of $42,000 per day on the taxpayer's dime. They freaked out, the Republicans in North Carolina. They called an emergency session. Oh, we have to undo what Charlotte has done, which they did. And while they were at it, they did a lot of even more devious things.
Well, what does the governor say? Why? Yeah, how can he defend how can he defend discrimination in this day and age? And this is an outright discriminatory piece of legislation.
Well, they're basically convincing a lot of people, and I've seen people having these arguments online and in other places. This is to protect people in bathrooms. Oh, sexual predators will take advantage. It's that Mike Huckabee thing where he made that joke of saying, boy, I would have, if I could have gone into the girls' locker room when I was in the 8th grade, I might have felt like exactly. And so it's basically that level of paranoia that's going on, where they've convinced people that, predators will go into the women's bathroom. Men who say that they are feeling like a woman today will break the law and go in. So we must protect the sanctity of the bathroom.
And this is now the law of the state, right? I mean,
it is.
There's no undoing it.
Well, I mean, it's what I love to say about North Carolina and many other states that have been taken over by Republicans. Scott Walker in Wisconsin comes to mind. Once they get this level of power, where because of gerrymandering, which is before the courts right now, we're having 2 primaries in North Carolina. We had one, we'll have another in June because it's such a mess. The courts have said, you have illegally gerrymandered, you need to fix this. But they have so much power in this state that they can actually pass illegal laws because no one is there to stop them. And the courts eventually have to sort this out. This will go through the courts. This will be thrown out. Most people have no doubt whatsoever that this is going to get kicked out by the court system at some point later on. But for the next year or two, while we're waiting for that process to play out, people will be discriminated against.
So, Jeff, it wasn't that long ago that those of us in the rest of the country were looking to North Carolina as the model upcoming, progressive state, or about to become, progressive state, at least purple and moving in the right direction. What the hell happened?
Well, people stopped going to the voting booth in the midterm elections. This dates back to 2010. We were so great in 2008, and then in 2010, everybody stayed home. And the census occurred, and the Republicans were able to redraw the lines, and the Tea Party, and all of these things that happened while we were looking and just not really paying attention, kind of led to this. Oh wow, the Republicans, the Alex of the world, looked at it and saw an opportunity to take advantage of voter apathy and take advantage of, hey, if we can get enough power in these states, we can get ultimate control. And I think we just fell asleep at the wheel and kind of became a victim of that mentality.
And, on the other side, you see where you're dismayed by what we see out of the legislature and the governor, so heartened by what we see out of Reverend William Barber and the Moral Mondays movement. He was here in Washington last week. I saw him again. The last time was when I was with you, and we interviewed him together down in Asheville. Right. But what a powerful force, and what a difference he has made, or that movement has made.
It's pretty amazing. There's a sense of right and wrong, and it's very, very clear-cut. That people who you look at it from a moral standpoint and the leadership of this state are legislating from, they use the moral high ground to do immoral things to other people under their control, and it's disturbing to see, and it's more disturbing because it works. They pull this Christian, we're Christian conservative, and for some reason people give them a pass, and what they're doing is decidedly unchristian. If I can say that the morning after Easter.
Yeah, right. Well, you can say it, and when Reverend Barber says it, man, it really has an impact, I think.
He has more credibility than I do on that subject.
Well, he has more credibility than those legislators do, for sure, right? When they try to wrap themselves in the cloak of Jesus, and he unmasks them and unwraps them, and it's beautiful to behold. Now, April 15 and April 16, going to be a hot time in Asheville, man. I got to tell you, right?
The whole state may have lost their mind, but Asheville is still carrying the burden of being the progressive leader in the state. Yes, you are invading town on April the 15th. Stephanie Miller, John Fugelsang on the 16th. It is a liberal takeover. We may declare statehood like they did in that episode of MASH with Rosie's Bar. We may declare statehood in Asheville.
You know what? Absolutely, we should. Yeah, we just take over.
Absolutely.
We could make Brian Hall the governor, right?
Oh, no. I wouldn't go that far, Bill.
All right,
our program director, he doesn't want to work that hard.
No, we'll make you the governor. I don't know.
Oh, Lord, no. There's too many skeletons outside of my closet dancing around, let me tell you.
Well, it's going to be a great weekend. I'm so excited about it. Yeah, I'll be there with a big event at Avenue M on the evening of April 15, and then Stephanie and John Fugelsang take over with their big show, Sexy Liberal Show, on Saturday, April 16. All sponsored by 880 The Revolution.
We're so happy, too.
Yeah, and Jeff Messer, host of the Jeff Messer Show. Jeff, as we always say, I get people to work in the morning, and you bring them home in the afternoon, right?
That's right. We're punching in and out at the opposite ends of the day. Hey, before I go, I do have to say, just to give them the benefit of the doubt, I did think about this. The legislature in North Carolina could actually be creating a jobs program because they're going to have to hire a lot of attendants to guard restroom doors now. So no more Checkpoint Charlie. We're up to Checkpoint Willie in the state of North Carolina.
Oh, my God. Oh, yeah. No. we got to turn that around, and let's hope we can do so soon. Hey, Jeff, always good to visit with you. I'll see you next week.
Too, Bill.
All right.
Can't wait, buddy. We'll see you.
Thank you. Jeff Messer with 880 The Revolution.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Hey, what do you say? It's 12 minutes now before the top of the hour here on this Monday, March 28th. Alex Seitzwald has been on the road with Bernie Sanders, and he comes in at the top of the next hour in studio with us, and we'll be joined by Jeff Dufer, who's been covering the president's trip to Cuba last week, editor at the National Journal, and he'll tell us all about it next hour as well. Yes, indeed, Saturday. A big day for Bernie Sanders. You might have seen I was there all through the afternoon from 2 p.m. until 8 p.m. with the other members of the panel on CNN, watching and waiting for the returns from Alaska, from Hawaii, and from Washington State. Going into the day, everybody said, Bernie's got to get some momentum going again here. Bernie has to not just win, he has to win big time by big margins. And he did in all three states. 72.7% in Washington State to Hillary's 27.1%. 81.6% in Alaska to Hillary's 18.4%. Bernie didn't even campaign in the state of Alaska and got 81% of the vote. In Hawaii, it was 70.6% to 29.2% for Hillary Clinton. Interesting, in Hawaii, Bernie Sanders ran an ad, a very powerful ad, with Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, who was our guest about a month or so ago when she resigned from the DNC so she could become a Bernie Sanders supporter as an officer of the DNC, I should say. There was an ad for Bernie by Tulsi Gabbard. Hillary Clinton ran an ad with some very nice things about her said by President Obama. And yet Bernie Sanders still carried the day, even though it looked like, Obama hasn't endorsed Hillary, really. I think kind of unofficially he has, but in that ad, it didn't turn the tide for Hillary. Again, winning by those big margins, and Bernie Sanders was Saturday evening in Madison, Wisconsin, with all of our good friends from 92.1 The Mic out in Madison, and he started by thanking the people of Alaska.
Let me begin by thanking the people of Alaska for giving us a resounding victory tonight.
Later, while the senator was speaking, his wife Jane came up back on stage to tell him that he has also been declared the winner in Washington State. And, of course, by the end of the evening, he was also the winner in the Hawaii caucuses. What's really significant there is, and as Bernie pointed out in that room there in Madison, it was so clear that the energy, the enthusiasm, the excitement, the momentum is with his campaign.
We have, I think it is hard for anybody to deny that our campaign has the momentum. You are the momentum. Look around you tonight.
Now, what that does, don't believe the people who say in the media who try to discount what happens, saying, well, it doesn't make any real difference. Yes, it does make a difference. Bernie Sanders had a huge pickup. Remember, this means 5 out of 6 of the last primaries, Democratic primaries or caucuses, Bernie has won. Idaho, Utah, Alaska, Hawaii, Washington State. The latest number from CNN, and the number changes right now because they're still tallying the delegate count from Washington State, which had 101 delegates at stake on Saturday. But the latest count is 1,251 delegates. This does not include superdelegates for Hillary Clinton. 1,251. 1,012 for Bernie Sanders, which means that he started out Saturday 304 delegates behind Hillary Clinton. He is now only 239 delegates behind Hillary Clinton. He'll pick up some more from Washington State, so he could be down to maybe 225, a little over 200 delegates behind Hillary Clinton, with big states coming up. Again, Wisconsin, April 5, 96 delegates. Wyoming, April 9, with 18 delegates. And then New York State, 291 on April 19. And still ahead, Connecticut, Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, leading up to the big enchilada, California, on June 7, with 546 delegates at stake. We got a real horse race, folks. A real horse race. Very, very exciting. Right now, again, the momentum and the enthusiasm and the energy and the excitement is clearly with Bernie Sanders. We'll be right back.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, here we go. Hour number 3 coming up, and it's going to be a big one. You want to stay tuned, and don't forget, you have to wait around till 5 o'clock Eastern on Free Speech TV, but you can watch right away on our video stream, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Alex Seitzwald has been on the road for MSNBC with Bernie Sanders. He's back in town after Saturday's big primaries. He'll join us in studio, as well as Jeff Dufour, who is an editor at the National Journal, talking about Cuba. The president's trip to Cuba last week. All of that coming up at hour number 3. Hang around.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
That's
At the top of the next hour, President Obama. Today's the big Easter egg roll at the White House. He and the First Lady will attend that this morning. Hope it stops raining. My God. And then this evening, he'll be delivering the keynote address at the Toner Prize ceremony, Syracuse University prizes for excellence in political reporting. We have our briefing today with Josh Earnest at 1:30. And don't forget, if you don't already have a signed copy of my new book, Buyer's Remorse, How Obama Let Progressives Down, with a blurb on the cover by Senator Bernie Sanders, go to our website, BillPressShow.com. Tell us how you want the book signed or inscribed or whatever. We will get it out to you right away. Buyer's Remorse, and we'll be back with Alex Seitzwald.
This is the Bill Press Show.
calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
I wanted to find a bank with a purpose. I wanted to find a place that would take my money and not use it to cause the financial crisis, but to fix the financial crisis and to help end income inequality.
The people that we employ are usually clients right off the streets. They don't have an account, but Amalgamated is willing to get that started for them.
Their reputation of supporting the working man, I think, speaks for itself. This is a bank that cares for their customers, and I appreciate that.
We were able to access a construction loan through the bank's programs, and that loan has helped us house 28 families in the community.
Amalgamated is a bank that was started for and about working people.
Many of our customers have a deep commitment to advocating for social and economic justice. We share that commitment, and we're not afraid to stand up and say that we need to change some of the way that the country does business.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight, it's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
And Bernie Sanders does the impossible. He wins the trifecta. Indeed, Alaska, Hawaii, and Washington State. Winning all three by big margins on Saturday. Hello, everybody. Great to see you today, this Monday. Hope you had a wonderful Easter weekend. And on Monday, March 28th, we welcome you to the Bill Press Show as we boom out to you live, as always, from our studio here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Normally the heart of the action, although everybody's out of town for the Easter break here, except us, it seems, and the president. He is back in town and actually spent, a good part of Easter yesterday at church services in Alexandria, Virginia, with the First Family. We've got lots to talk about today, not just Bernie Sanders' big wins over the weekend, but where we go from here in the Democratic primary. Donald Trump and Ted Cruz continuing to slug it out in the gutter, and the horrific terrorist attacks continue around the globe, with the latest in Pakistan yesterday with over 60 people killed at a children's amusement park. How low and how sick can you get? All of that above, you're going to want to talk about, and you know how to do so. Give us a holler at 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number. Or simply send your comments on Twitter at BP Show, or on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. Following Bernie Sanders are around the country from state to state to state and win to win to win. Alex Seitzwald from MSNBC finds himself in Washington today in between events and good enough to come by the studio. Hi, Alex. Good to see you.
Hey, Bill. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Why aren't you in Wisconsin?
I'm heading out there. Don't worry. But we got this little lull here. I'm calling tomorrow regular Tuesday because it's the first Tuesday we've had in a while without an election.
You know what? That's good. Yeah. It's not another Super Tuesday. Last Tuesday, they ran out of supers, right? And they had to call it, I think it was Western
Tuesday.
Western Tuesday.
Some people were calling it Super Tuesday 3.
No.
That's too much.
Western Tuesday. And then Saturday was Western Saturday.
Right.
Right.
And then, you kind of just open the thesaurus for Super, and, we'll start getting Mega and Stupendous Tuesday and all kinds of other things, I'm sure.
Anyhow, good to see you today. Peter Ogbur's got the week off, Easter break, spring break. Jamie Benson, that means he's doing double duty today. Hi, Jamie.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Bill.
Right, with Ray Rogers. Ready for your calls at 866-55-PRESS. Keep her busy. And Cyprian Bolding, always busy, switching the cameras to make Alex and I look as interesting as possible here. It's a little dilemma, Alex, that they're facing on the Republican side, because now that it looks like it's boiled down to Ted Cruz and Donald Trump, right? I mean, it really is the lesser of two evils, right? And people are, like Lindsey Graham said, you want to be shot or you want to be poisoned, and that's the choice. Bill Maher had his take Saturday evening on trying to decide between the two of them.
Donald Trump is like Ebola. He'll violently kill you right away. Cruz is more like the Zika virus. We won't see the damage until future generations. Donald Trump wants to build a wall to keep out creepy foreigners. Ted Cruz is proof we need it.
And I think Bill Maher has finally said, like Lindsey Graham did, that I guess better Cruz, better lose with Cruz is what they're saying.
That's what he came down on, yeah.
Yeah, lose with Cruz indeed. So we'll talk Bernie with Alex here, and then joined at the half hour by Jeff Dufer from the National Journal on President Obama's trip to Cuba. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories for you on this Monday morning. Yes, the stage is set. A Final Four is complete. Next weekend, Villanova will take on Oklahoma on Saturday at 6:09 p.m. Syracuse will take on UNC. Only one number one seed in the Final Four this year, and that is UNC. They looked as good as ever yesterday, defeating Notre Dame 88-74. Also, Syracuse was a big upset of Virginia. Virginia coming in as a 2 seed into the tournament. Syracuse came back from a 16-point second-half deficit to beat Virginia yesterday, 68-62.
All right, that next weekend.
Next weekend.
Pretty exciting.
Tune in.
Yep.
Some interesting news out of New Jersey, I should say, with the whole concept of distracted walking on one lawmaker's mind. So distracted walking is really defined as you're looking down at your phone or you're too in tune to your music and your headphones, and you're just not looking where you're going. I've seen people stumble over sidewalks. I've even seen somebody walk into a mailbox before. It's a real thing. One of my big pet peeves as well. So General Assembly member in New Jersey, Pamela Lampett, has introduced a measure that would ban walking while texting and bar pedestrians on public roads from using any electronic communication device, whether it be a phone or whether they're Skyping, anything that's not hands-free. Violators would face fines of up to $50, 15 days imprisonment, or both, which is the same penalty as jaywalking. What do you guys think of this? Is something you'd support?
No, because I do it.
Oh no!
Seems a little nanny statey to me.
But I also think impossible to enforce. If they tried to enforce this in Washington D.C., there are not enough cops.
Exactly.
Members of Congress would be filling up the jail cells.
Yes, starting with it. Well, they should be there anyhow. But
we'll continue to follow it and see if it makes it any further than simply its introduction. And finally, a new warning from the FAA on one of your favorite topics, Bill. On Friday, the FAA was compelled to warn drone operators that it continues to be illegal to fly drones around airplanes and airports. More than 100 pilots reported drone sightings last month. They're getting about 100 complaints per month now about drones. But the AP, on the other hand, is also reporting some of the positives about drones, including what's going on in Michigan. A 2014 study from the Michigan Tech Research Institute found that drones are actually somewhat useful for a range of transportation tasks, including examining bridge decks and monitoring traffic to process thermal data and inspecting confined spaces.
Fine. Keep them away from airports, that's all.
That's all. That's all it should be. But
or my backyard.
The debate wages on: are drones a positive?
Or my pot patch. You know what I mean?
Or negative. Uh-oh.
All right. Thank you, Jamie. Yes, indeed. Well, maybe even Bernie might have been surprised. You think, Alex, by his margins of victory on Saturday? Pretty decisive. I mean. Again, I was there on CNN as part of the panel. Everybody said, as we began our coverage, Bernie, it looks good, but he not only has to win, he's got to win by big margins, right? And as if he were listening, Bernie turned around and won by big margins. 72% of the vote in Washington State, 81% in Alaska, 70.6% in Hawaii. pretty decisive.
Yeah, he kind of pulled the Syracuse, I think. This
Yeah,
weekend.
exactly.
The,
Right.
the big upset. I mean, yeah, not only are these numbers big, and that's a big moral victory, but it's critical for getting delegates. That's why the numbers matter, as you know. Democrats proportion delegates, proportionally based on what percentage of the vote you win. So if you add all this up, we're still waiting on some delegates to be apportioned in Washington State.
Yeah,
But you get close to 70 delegate netted. So that's, he won 70 delegates total. He's going to walk away from that even after you subtract Hillary Clinton's. That's huge. She's got a close to 300 delegate lead, or she came into Saturday with close to 300 delegate lead. So he's looking at taking off more than a quarter of her delegate lead just on Saturday.
Right. Yeah, just to go back to go to those numbers. And by the way, it is confusing to me because Washington State, 101 delegates, but they haven't all been allocated yet. They're still trying to figure that out. I don't know why.
Yeah, and that can take days because it's a complicated formula the way you do it based on congressional districts and whatnot. So we're still waiting on those, but it's going to correspond roughly to the total that he won.
The numbers that CNN are reporting this morning, to where we are now, with still some to come from Washington State, Hillary is at 1,251, and Bernie is at 1,012, which is a difference of 239. Again, at this point, that will go down. He started Saturday 304 votes behind. So, that's, 60-some delegates right there that he's net,
right. So that's huge. I mean, and this is exactly what he needs to do going forward. That's the good news for him. The bad news for him is that it's going to be more difficult to keep up margins like this. There are only 2 more caucuses left on the calendar. Those tend to favor him. All 3 of these contests Saturday were caucus states. And the big prizes left up for grabs, New York, California, Pennsylvania. Currently, polls can change, but currently Hillary Clinton is ahead in all of those, and she has a reasonable claim. New York, she was elected twice to the Senate from the state. She lives there. Pennsylvania has always been good to the Clintons, gave her a critical win in 2008. In California, she won in 2008 as well. So what he did, I think, this weekend was keep himself alive when a lot of people thought there was no chance at all. He was down for the count. He put himself back up, and he's still alive, but he's still going to need to perform exceptionally well from now on. There's basically no margin for error from here on out.
Right. I want to get to those big states coming up in just a second. But in the meantime, the next big one is 96 delegates in Wisconsin, April 5. There were reports Saturday of some Clinton people saying, oh, yeah, Bernie's going to win Wisconsin. You're heading out there Thursday. How's it look?
I think that's probably, if I had to put money on it now.
He's in Appleton, Wisconsin, I think this morning or tomorrow or something. I mean, he was in Madison Saturday night.
He's got, I think, 3 stops today. Hillary Clinton is out there today and tomorrow. They'll both be spending a lot of time there. And look, I was out in Madison for his first big super rally.
That's where it all started.
That's where it all started in July, I believe. And this was kind of the first time that we thought, wait a minute, this is something different that's going on here with Bernie Sanders. 10,000 people packed into the Veterans Coliseum. That was one of their, they had booked a room for 300 people, and then they had to upgrade it to a room for 1,000 people, and then upgrade it to a room for 5,000 people. And then they ended up getting, the basically the biggest venue in the entire town. So deep support there. College town in Madison, big labor history in Wisconsin. I think he's going to look very, very strong there. And of course, the Clinton people are also doing some expectations management, and so when they lose, they can say, we saw this coming all along. But again, he's not only got to win, but he's got to put up the big margin to really rack in those delegates and eat into her lead.
And then when you look at Bernie has said yesterday, all right, we're going to make a big push for New York. We're going to open an office in Brooklyn, and we're going to work New York. And there's a big lull between April 5 and April 19. I mean, Wyoming comes in there in a caucus, by the way, in between. But he's going to have a good 2 weeks where he can work New York. And they said they're going to like he was running for governor, going to go to every corner of New York and work that state. And it is his home state.
Right.
It's not Hillary's home state.
Right. She's got a few of those.
She has a few home states. She collects them, I think. Right. So, again, as you point out, he doesn't have to win New York necessarily just got to do well enough to get a lot of delegates.
Right. And when you're talking about a state with that many delegates and with the Democratic proportional system, the margins are always more important than wins or losses. So, he could lose narrowly, and that'd be, probably about as good as a win. Obviously, you'd like to win big there. And, there's a good, who is more Brooklyn? Hillary Clinton, who has her campaign headquarters there, or Bernie Sanders, who every word that comes out of his mouth
is Brooklyn.
Right. And they point out that upstate New York looks a lot like Vermont. In fact, the media market for Burlington overlaps with some of upstate New York up there. So, they got dinged for that in New Hampshire, but the same kind of effect will be, at least in parts of upstate New York. New York City, very liberal, lots of people there who might like Bernie Sanders' message. At the same time, Hillary Clinton has, won 2 statewide elections. The city is diverse. She tends to do better in diverse areas. So this is going to be a real, battle royale, all out. 2 weeks going into it. She's going to call in everybody off the bench, from Andrew Cuomo to Bill de Blasio and up and everybody in between. And this is going to be a major reckoning, I think, because pretty much every contest now he has to do really, really well. So he's fighting for his life in every single one of these contests.
All right. And in the middle of it all, Bernie Sanders, and he repeated this yesterday, I believe it was on Meet the Press, that he has a clear path to victory. Does he, and what is it? We'll get to that. Alex, we'll take a break, get your answer to that when we come back here. Alex Seitzold with us from MSNBC at 21 minutes after the hour.
Your place to talk about the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. Our whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, now at 25 minutes after the hour, Jeff Dufour from National Journal joins us at the half hour. Alex Seitzwald, for a brief moment here in Washington, D.C., and not on the road with the Sanders campaign, nice enough to come in the studio from MSNBC. So does Bernie have a path to victory, and what is it?
So two paths that we should be looking at here, Bill. One is with all delegates and one is with pledged delegates only. So right now they're kind of shooting for the pledged delegate path, which is the lower bar that removes the superdelegates from the equation. And this is based on the idea that, if you end up with more pledged delegates at the end of June, then the superdelegates will feel obligated to kind of come over and they won't overturn the results of the party. So we haven't redone the math after this weekend, but it's going to be roughly the equivalent of this. To get more pledged delegates by the end of June, he needs to win about 55 to 58% of outstanding delegates. 58, 55%. To win all delegates.
By the way, I think there's like 45% of delegates still to be allocated.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. So we're just past the
50% mark.
The halfway point. Exactly. And as we mentioned,
and
those
he
four
needs to
big
win 55% of the ones remaining.
Of the ones remaining.
Okay.
In order to catch up with her on pledged delegates.
Yes.
If he wants to beat her outright and get to the so-called magic number, win the nomination, he has to overcome her big superdelegate lead. She has something like a 20-to-1 advantage among superdelegates. In order to do that, it's a much higher bar. He needs to win about 65% of the remaining delegates. So that's why they're shooting for the pledged delegate threshold and then hoping that that'll get them there. But there's always a chance, even if they end up the end of California with one more pledged delegate, a lot of these superdelegates, is Jeanne Shaheen, is Claire McCaskill, these hardcore Hillary Clinton people, are they really going to flip for Bernie Sanders?
Well, let me turn that around. Are they really going to deny the will of the people and earn the wrath of over half of Democrats in this country?
Well, I think there's a lot of metrics that they could point to. They could point to who won more states, who won more overall popular votes.
They're stealing. They would be stealing that election from Bernie Sanders.
Well, that would be. It all depends who's going to. That's certainly what the Bernie Sanders people are going to say. But I think they might be able to spin it in a different direction because there's going to be a lot of different ways to look at it.
You know what? I will not say like Donald Trump did that there would be riots in the streets, but let me tell you, there would be hell to pay. That would lose the election for Hillary Clinton, in my opinion.
It would be. It's certainly a situation that the Clinton campaign is hoping to avoid, is confident they can avoid. You just want to set the superdelegates aside if you're them and beat them on pledged delegates.
Right. I think Bernie may be right. The superdelegates do want to win. I mean, they want to win. And if they see that Bernie's won all these states and won these delegates, I think, like in 2008, some of them will flip from where they are to where they think they're going to be. All right, Alex, back on the road. We'll talk to you from there and see you next time you're back in town.
Thanks so much, Bill.
This
Thanks, man.
is the Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight, it's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek, Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough. 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 Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad, as a friend, as a husband,
As a wife.
as an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook. Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go now at 33 minutes after the hour on a Monday, March 28th. Good to see you again today as we come to you live coast to coast on your local Progressive Talk radio station and on Free Speech TV. And we're looking at you from our studios on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., right just down the street from the United States Capitol Building, where we're brought to you today by the American Federation of Teachers, good men and women of the AFT under President Randy Weingarten, America's teachers making a difference in America's classrooms every day. You bet. We salute them for their good work, thank them for their sponsorship of the program, and direct you to check out their good work at aft.org. Hug a teacher today with all the great work that they're doing. President Obama back in the White House, went for Easter Sunday services yesterday at a church, a historic church down at Alexandria, Virginia. And he was back from being on the road to Argentina and before that to Cuba with lots of implications for the American businesses, the American economy. Jeff Dufer is an editor at the National Journal here in Washington. Been writing about Cuba and what we might expect as a result of that trip. Joins us in studio this morning. Hello, Jeff.
Hello, Bill. How are you?
Good to see you.
You too.
You had a particular reason to be happy with the president's trip to Cuba, huh?
Yes.
You're a cigar aficionado? Or?
And rum.
What's not to like?
A golden age of Cuban vice, legal in America. I can see it on the horizon.
Well, they didn't renew the gambling at the casinos yet. Huh?
Yet.
Maybe, right.
Yet.
Right.
That's the operative word with all of this stuff. Yet.
But you can. So what does it mean? I mean, is it going to make any difference in the availability? Let's just talk about those two products.
Sure.
Of rum and cigars.
I think the assumption is that the embargo lifts, and immediately tomorrow you can go buy a Cohiba and a bottle of Havana Club at your local store.
Well, first of all, getting the embargo lifted is the first hurdle, right?
Right. The president has certainly put it on that path. There's still plenty of intractable opposition in Congress. Especially Mario Diaz-Balart and some of the Cuban delegation down in Florida, they never want to see this thing.
Robert Menendez
they don't want to see this thing go away. But clearly we're on that path to.
It's a matter of time.
Rapprochement, if you want to call it, détente, whatever word you want to use. But when I started looking into this, it turns out that if you, for argument's sake, lift the embargo tomorrow, there's all kinds of other issues, especially with these two products, that might prevent that or might delay it for a few years.
Like what?
The biggest issue is this really, really thorny trademark issue for both of these products. Let's take rum for starters. Havana Club is the most storied rum brand that came out of Cuba. The revolution happens. The Cuban government seizes the assets of the distillery, the brand, everything else. The family who had run the distillery goes into exile. At one point, the Bacardi company, who was also based in Cuba, and now they make their rum in Puerto Rico, they come along, they buy the recipe from the family, and they register the trademark to sell it in America. Meanwhile, the Cuban government goes into partnership with Pernod Ricard, one of the other big multinational liquor companies, and they're selling it all over the world. So to this day, you've got this really thorny thicket of trademark. It's like a full protection program for international trade lawyers. Appeals, decisions, counter decisions over this trademark and who gets it. In fact, this past January, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office did rule that Cuba can register this trademark in the United States. It's essentially frozen until such time as the embargo is lifted. But they ruled for the first time in a long time that Cuba has a right to this trademark. So,
what about the American or the family that came here and sold it to an American company?
Right. Well, they sold it to Bacardi, who's also a multinational. Bacardi has, of course, appealed this. So if the embargo lifts tomorrow, what happens? You essentially have two companies who are claiming rights to the same brand to be sold in America. And with tobacco, it's even more interesting because you have a brand like Cohiba.
But part of it is just on the rum. But there are all kinds of rums available on the market today, right?
Right.
I mean, so what's one or two more? Meaning, why would the patent office or trade office say that we can only have one of these two? Couldn't they just say, join the club?
Well, sure, but if you can't sell two rums under the same exact name.
Got it. Right.
Yeah.
And
they're both trying to call themselves Havana Club and claim it's not just the recipe, lot of liquor marketing is all about BS
Sure.
to begin with. They want to say, well, it's not just the recipe; it's about the tradition and the
one is the genuine Cuban rum, right?
Right.
That's what they're going for.
right, which we've been doing for 200 years, back to the Spanish
Yeah.
settlers, and this is how you do it, and you
Yeah.
can't get this flavor anywhere else. Blah blah blah. Yeah.
And on the cigars,
On the cigar side, same thing. Revolution hits. Some of these cigar growers, when their assets get confiscated, take the Cuban seeds and they go to Central America and the Dominican, they start planting them there. Now, a lot of cigar experts will tell you that they are just as good or better. With 300 million of them are sold in the United States, quote unquote, premium cigars.
out of the Dominican Republic.
Dominican, Nicaragua, and Honduras. The problem is, about 20 years ago, when the cigar boom in the 90s hit, a lot of these growers to sell in America registered some of those same Cuban trademarks, same thing, to sell in America, including Cohiba, which was the cigar made for Castro initially. You can buy a Cohiba in America that's grown in the Dominican. So, same kind of thing. Cuban multinational, partnership with the Cuban government. They claim, hey, wait a minute, you can't do this.
We're the true Cohiba, and somebody else.
We're the
does
true
it.
Cohibas. An appeals court agreed with Cuba a couple of years ago, appealed to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said, no, we're not going to hear this. So that's a win for the Cuban government. It's still being litigated, but essentially that was a win for Cuba.
Well, cutting through all of that, those procedural problems. I mean, what do you think will be? How long will it be before we just have a free flow of goods back and forth between the United States and Cuba? Will anything happen before the embargo is lifted?
No.
Embargo has to be lifted first.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's a little bit around the margins now that Obama
Some
during
of these
his
trade deals. Huh?
You can, if you get a visa and go to Havana, you can now bring back $100 worth of cigars and rum. And they had this silly rule that if you went to, let's say, France, and you were an American citizen, you couldn't enjoy the stuff over there. And that's been lifted because it was a stupid rule. A few months ago, the Obama administration said, if you go somewhere else, you can enjoy this stuff without a problem.
Right.
I don't know how they were ever going to enforce it to begin
So
with.
it'll take let's be optimistic, a year for the embargo to be lifted. I'd be surprised if it's lifted that long.
Most of the people I were talking to said 3 to 5.
Unless Congress really does a big flip.
Yeah.
Which could happen if Donald Trump's a nominee. And then after that, it's going to take another, you think, a couple of years before there's a free flow of you can just buy Cuban goods and they can buy our goods and back and forth.
Yeah. And then meanwhile, the FDA now is in the middle of a move to regulate cigars. So that could be yet another issue, not just Cuban cigars, but all cigars.
So you don't have a lot of good news for cigar lovers or rum lovers here, do you?
They'll get here. You got to hang on. It'll certainly get here.
It's just, it's just going to take longer than you think, huh?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what the answer is, Jeff?
What's that?
Go to Cuba.
Go to Cuba. Get yourself a visa. You can go there now.
You don't need a visa.
Well,
you can just book a flight.
Book a flight.
Yeah. And when you get down there, you can smoke as many cigars as you want.
Right.
Right.
Bill's speaking from personal experience, by the way.
Right. Drink as much rum as you want, and then bring back $100 worth.
Yeah. Or more, and don't declare it. Or
well, I'm not asking.
See if you get lucky.
I'm not suggesting you
they
break
don't
the law.
They don't search everyone.
The first time I went, got to take a break. It was a quick story. First time I went, a friend of mine here just insisted I had to bring him Cuban cigars. I don't smoke anyhow, so I did. I brought him 5, and when I was going through customs in Miami, first of all, the guy said, "Where were you?" Right? And I told him I was in Cuba. I wasn't going to lie because I was on CNN at the time, and I knew I'd get caught if I didn't lie. And then he said, okay. And he said, how many cigars did you bring back? And I said, 5. And he said, 5 boxes? And I said, no, 5. And he said, get out of here. Just keep going, right? He didn't care. Yeah. So they'll give you a little leeway, maybe.
Yeah.
So, but got to be careful. Jeff Dufour is here with us from the National Journal. Other issues as well we'll get into with Jeff when we come back. Your questions about Cuba, rum or cigars, or anything Cuba, 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
For my 6th birthday, my grandpa gave me a Rubik's Cube. I'll always be able to remember its edges, hold it in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I remember him telling me about it. How Rubik's Cube has 43 quintillion, 252 quadrillion, 3 trillion, 274 billion, 489,856,000 possibilities. He told me it can be really confusing sometimes. But to look at the center squares as a reminder of what color each side should be. Shift. We're celebrating his 50th wedding anniversary. He and Grandma are dancing a dance that only fragile legs and wrinkled hands know how to. That type of happiness took him 70 years to earn. The white side of the cube is solved. Shift. He tells me about how he met Grandma. His college friends had a sunset picnic. She was there, as beautiful as an unsolved puzzle. She was a red-headed scramble on an orange tile sky. Shift. The walls of the hospital are blue. The nurses explain that his memories had become jumbled. Strangers in family portraits, pictures with mismatched faces. Alzheimer's has made his mind into a Rubik's Cube. Shift. He's a highway patrolman. His car is white. No, it's blue. He worked there for 30 years. Some nights he still does. Time is a complicated algorithm. Shift. The pills he holds are yellow and red and green. The weight of their color causes his hand to drop. I try to shift his tiles back into place, but people don't have center squares. His mind is a hospital bed divided by 0. Shift. My sister's wedding is white, but he doesn't know why. Shift. World War II is every color. The South Pacific is blue. The islands are green. There is so much red. Shift. Grandpa, table, cube, name, scramble, California, guitar, grapefruit, highway, wedding bell, war, stick shift rifles, South Pacific mirrors, shift. The temperature of his hands is blue. Death is colorless. I will always remember his edges. Hold him in my hands. Heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I was unable to attend his funeral. I never found out the algorithm to solve him. A Rubik's Cube has over 43 quintillion possibilities. A casket only has one.
Can't catch the entire show? Listen to BP in 3, where we turn 3 hours into 3 minutes. Find it every day at BP Show on Twitter or at BillPressShow.com.
Here we go now at 12 minutes before the top of the hour here, winding up on a Monday, March 28th. In studio with us, Jeff Dufour from the National Journal, editor there at the National Journal. Jeff, we've spent a lot of time talking about the this 2016 race, obviously. This weekend was dominated by the 3 Democratic caucuses. No Republican activity, which is good because that way Ted Cruz and Donald Trump had more time to slime each other's wives, right? Pretty sick. But Donald Trump is still threatening, that there's going to be hell to pay if he gets close to the number of delegates necessary to win the nomination, 1237, and they take it away from him at the open convention, suggesting there might even be riots. You've been writing about that.
Yeah. I took a look at I had heard a lot of people talking about this was going to be Republicans' version of Democrats in 1968. So I took a closer look at that. I talked to a lot of people who were there in 1968, Democrats. The consensus from them was that anything outside the perimeter of the actual arena itself could not possibly come close to 1968. They said without the X factor of the Vietnam War, with these people having to go across the world and fight and die, it's not apples and apples.
Doesn't reach that level.
It doesn't reach that
of
level.
Intensity.
Right.
Huh?
One prominent lobbyist here in town who was there, he said, "Look, at the end of the day, this is just a political disagreement, and it's a vehement political disagreement, but it's not the same as going over to Vietnam and getting shot."
The Trump supporters
Yes.
are true believers. I mean, they are not going to just sit home in wherever, Dallas or something, and let the party elite take this away from Donald Trump.
Now the other no, they're not. The question is what form that's going to take. The other thing is that the police, who behaved reprehensibly in 1968, have essentially had 50 years of lessons of what not to do, and they know how to react to these situations. So I don't think you're going to get – it's not going to be a full-scale riot outside. The more interesting thing to me is what happens inside and how unruly that gets, because that's uncharted waters as well. When I looked into this, I found that the party has a whole series of controls in order to prevent this kind of stuff from happening. To put a unified, orderly front inside. And it starts when the delegates are selected. There's a committee who's basically in charge of looking into every delegate and every alternate who's going to be on the floor, vetting them, seeing who they are, and flagging any potential problems. They did this a couple years ago with the Ron Paul people. In 1996, they did this with the Pat Buchanan people, if anybody was going to create any trouble.
Yeah.
Once the convention kicks off, there's people behind the stage. They've got teams fanning out all over. If they need to, they can, we've got trouble over here. Let's cut the mic on these people and this area of the arena so it doesn't pick up on the networks. I heard stories about they send a whole phalanx of college Republicans out with signs, and they hold all the signs up in front of a delegation who's making too much of a scene, and that way the networks can't see what these folks are up to.
Right.
So there are these mechanisms they have in place. However, it's always predicated on there actually being a nominee to run the show and to say, okay, well, we're the Romney people. If the Paul people get out of line, we can cut the mic on them. If there's no nominee and you have a combination of Reince Priebus and Paul Ryan running the convention, then who do you cut the mic on? At least until such time as you've actually selected a nominee. I guess on the fourth day, for instance, if you had some ballots and you finally have a nominee, now that person's people can run the show. But until then, how do you play favorites?
What you're forecasting is unlikely there would be riots outside the arena, but there could be riots inside the arena.
Or getting close to there. I mean, you're going to have some really angry people inside, I think, regardless. If the Trump people get it taken away from them, then certainly. Now, one of the questions is, with the way the delegate selection process is going right now, how many actual Trump people are inside? It seems like they're trying to orchestrate it so that everybody inside is a double agent for Ted Cruz anyhow. Does Trump have enough of an organization to actually get his people inside and make a critical mass? And then if Trump is the nominee, you're going to have plenty of establishment Republicans making plenty of noise in there.
Right.
And trying to muck up the process.
All of which proves to me that there is no place I want to be in that week in July other than in Cleveland, Ohio. I don't want to miss this for anything.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure there might be a party at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There's all kinds of reasons to go there.
All right. It's going to be wild, I'm telling you. And I don't think Trump is going to have enough delegates before the convention. So
I don't think he is.
I think we're going to see an open convention.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, good to have you by. Thanks so much for coming in. From the National Journal, nationaljournal.com, and Parting Shot coming up next. I'll be right back.
on your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It occurred to me tonight, for the first time, that the long-winged insect that over and over again rams its body into the wood of my front door might not know what he's doing. He might not have a plan. Maybe that's just how he flies, and that is where the door is. And I remember you, the last time I saw you, a few weeks before we would graduate from high school, and a few days before you let a bullet dissolve on your tongue. Dancing in a warehouse rave, sweat-drenched and strobe light battered, thrashing your arms back and thrusting them forward. The floor could get so bright and loud, we all slowed down to be more careful, but you kept dancing full sprint tornado, and sometimes you'd spin full weight into a wall and just spread your arms against it and sway back and forth like a lover reunited. This long-winged insect is not trying to get into the house. It doesn't know there is a house. Can't imagine a life beyond that door. All it can see is the light. You and I were both 17 when you died. And ever since then, I have envied you. How you are remembered for towering, unclaimed potential instead of living to look regret in the face. You didn't have to come home 3 weeks later and explain to your little brother why you took too much medicine. Your addiction is remembered as a tragedy, not a betrayal. Your suicide attempt became a suicide, not an unpaid hospital bill. And only tonight did it occur to me that maybe that night when you let your teeth touch metal, you might not have known what you were doing. You might not have had a plan. Maybe you had hit that door so many times you couldn't imagine it might let you through. I'm still ashamed to admit it, but I have always secretly believed you did it for me, that you wanted to show me that there is a way out of all of this. Not so that I would follow you, but so I would understand that every day that I am alive is a day that I choose to be alive. And when the music stops, you still get to keep on dancing. And when the light is so bright it blinds, you can dance with your eyes closed. And if in that dark you come up against a wall, you keep your arms out wide and you dance with the wall.
Mainstream media got it all wrong after the 3 caucuses on Saturday. Most of the media, merely regurgitating spin from the Clinton campaign, reported that those results on Saturday don't really matter because Hillary still has an insurmountable lead in delegates. No. That's not the real story. The real story is Bernie Sanders has won 5 out of the last 6 primaries. He won those primaries by huge margins. On Saturday, he went from 304 delegates behind now to only 239 behind. The real story is Clinton aides are already admitting that Bernie's probably going to win the Wisconsin primary on April 5. And then he moves into friendly territory, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Oregon, and California. Meanwhile, the energy, the enthusiasm, and the excitement is clearly on his side. That is the real story, that this is a real horse race, and there's no reason for Bernie to consider getting out of the race because he could still win it. That's my parting shot for today, folks. Have a great Monday. Come back and see us tomorrow.
This is the Bill Press Show.